If you've ever used Canva, you might have used this functionality called Upscale. And what Upscale does is it enhances your image, like it removes perhaps artifacts in it, or if your image is pixelated. And the other thing you'll realize is if you use it, you have some free uses, but it is considered a premium feature. I believe that the actual algorithm underneath Canva's Upscale is probably a variant of the super resolution family algorithms. And I don't really think it's all that advanced. So in fact, you can probably replace it yourself if you know how to script it a bit, or if you're willing to play a little bit with computer vision algorithms. So the very common super resolution algorithm is probably this one, the Real-Enhanced Super Resolution Generative Adversarial Networks. So this super resolution algorithm, there are binaries that are built for most platforms, so you can go and just download them, and it is fairly efficient. So I thought I'll show you how this works and perhaps the flow that I use. So let's take a look. So firstly, what do we have here in this repo? So in this repo, I have an image that is called Hello World. I'm going to remove the old artifact I had. So what I'm going to do is let's just have a look at what Hello World looks like. And you can see that it's a little bit pixelated. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run the enhanced super resolution algorithm over it. So let's do that on Hello World, and we'll have the output with that has out. Okay, so just so that we can see it side by side, let's just open a tab, and I'm not sure why it's doing that. Okay, there, and if we go and look at the other one, right, and you can see the enhanced one, well, it has less pixelation artifacts, which is good. This is what we wanted to see, so it shows you that it's working. The unfortunate thing is if we look at the file size, or we look at dimensions of the image, sorry, not the file size, you'll notice that it's different, right? So the original one was 200 by 200, and the new one is now 800 by 800. But in fact, we actually want a 200 by 200 image. Now, of course, we can go and take the 800 by 800 image and just downscale it and use some kind of interpolation algorithm. But I wanted, in my experiments, I think that there's a little bit of a better way of doing it if you're willing to put a little bit more effort. So I thought I'll show you that today. So I have this script that's called Super Resolution, and the idea is that we want to apply image pyramids, like the Gaussian blur at different radiuses, and we want to go from the coarsest one down to a fine one. And we want to apply this super resolution, followed by Gaussian blur, followed by this resizing, and we want to do it multiple times to get the best kind of outcome for our images. So that's the general flow of it. So firstly, if we go and look at the resizing part, which I have down here. So we look at the if we look at the sizing, what we actually want to do is we want to keep the original size so that when we go and resize it, it always stays the same, right? So that's what I have done here. And we can see from the from this definition here. So I'm going to, so if I go to the if we go to a function name, this function is exactly what we saw before. There's an additional argument that's s, and it's just set to 4, which is the default, right? And we went from 200 by 200 to 800 by 800. So then when we go and iterate it, we iterate over different radius sizes. So we go radii, and I've just chosen to take the log of the scale and then multiply by the dimensions of, or the radius of the Gaussian blur that we're going by, right? And we want to go from the coarsest, so 5, 3, 1. So what happens is we have our Gaussian blur, and what should happen when it goes through the for loop is the first one, it will go and apply a radius of 5 times the 5 times the scale factor, then 3 times the scale factor, then 1 times the scale factor, and followed by a resize. And then finally, when we go through the very last step, it just takes the very last image that we have, and it should remain the same size as the original image. So let's just run through this and see what happens. So we're going to quit, and we're going to run through super resolution.py, and I'm going to run through hello world.png. So we'll just run through very, very quickly, and we'll go and save the file. So we are going to, again, let's just have a comparison with hello world with the upscaled one. So it looks like this, and we can compare with hello world.png. So you can see that there's an improvement, even though they're the same size. It's based on taste. There is like that anti-aliasing going on, which is essentially what happens when you apply the Gaussian blur. But yeah, you can see that in this kind of way, we have a setup that we have taken the same picture, upscaled it, applied this kind of anti-aliasing idea, which is what that Gaussian blur does, and then we've kept it to be the same dimensions, right? And I think that's the important thing here. Yeah, so if we look at that, that's like 200 by 200. Now, are there other ways of doing this? Yeah, there's probably other ways. There's probably other tricks, and it always depends on the particular domain you're working on. Sometimes maybe you don't want this anti-aliasing, maybe you don't want it to be as aggressive. So maybe rather than having like 3 rounds of Gaussian blur followed by the resize and the upscaling, maybe you only do 2 rounds, or maybe you only do it once. This all just depends on how you want to do it. So for example, what I will do is let's go do it this way. So I'm going to let's just create, let's just move that one aside, and then we are going to modify super resolution so that maybe what we'll do is for the radii bit, rather than having 3 rounds, maybe we just have 1 round, right? So we just do it once, and then we can do the UV run and run it. Right, so then let's have a look at the difference if we of just doing it once versus doing it 3 times. So on the right hand side, what we'll show you the original one. So that would be 1.png, right? And then on this side, what we'll do is we'll just show you what it looks like when we only do it once. Did not want to scroll up. Why is it scrolling up? So yeah, you can see that, well, it's very, very subtle, but you can see that maybe there's still a bit of like the anti-aliasing basically isn't as aggressive. So you can see that, for example, on the right hand side, the L on world is far smoother, and also the 2 L's, they're getting to the stage where it's like coloring in the circle. Which one's better? Well, it depends on your taste, and it depends on like what you prefer. So this one still has a little bit of like the sharpness on the D, whereas it's completely blended in on the right hand side. So yeah, that's the idea behind like using this kind of image pyramid to enhance your images. It's just a cool example to show what's one way of how you can integrate this to a workflow, well, replace maybe some tools that you would have to otherwise pay, or it's like a sort of freemium kind of product. It's something that you might find useful and integrate in your workflow.